And we're back with some more Dyson Sphere Program. And this here is the cleaned up build that we made in the last episode. Just chucked down on our planet as necessary with a couple of fire ice mines down here. I should restart importing fire ice from further afield, but we can do that later. Might actually import it to this. We have one location set up to import space warpers, and we can use that to pull fire ice from, well, anywhere in the system and just plug it in. It's fine. It's fine. This system will run just fine for hundreds of hours. Hell, we could get it down to 40 hours. Even if we were building 1,000 rockets around it, we could definitely keep this running for like several days. So we're fine. But it's just so pretty. Alright, we're going to let that thing kick off. We got to get in with stage 2 of the plan. First thing I want to do is make a proliferate planet. Then once we get a proliferate planet up and running, we're going to want to get an antimatter production facility up and running, which means we're going to need to go back to our blue giant and set up the harvesting of photons. But no. Let's not get distracted. Proliferate first. We already have a system picked out. The system is called Proliferate Prime. Now, the reason we picked this one is, well, multiple reasons, but the main one is it's got kimberlite ore, large quantities of kimberlite ore, large quantities of coal. They're the two main resources. They're the ones you really need. It's also got stalagmite crystals. Do we need those? You know what? I can't remember. I do remember I picked this out a long time ago. But first thing we're going to have to do is kill off the hive, but then let it respawn and gimp it, as in we're going to inoculate ourselves against future hive infestations with all of these new expansions. Now, let me get a plot of course. Before we leave, I should probably point out that that carrier rocket production has only just kicked in, as in we just switched that on, well, a couple of minutes ago, tops. It might have some bugs, but we'll come back and find out later. It's made identically to the one we made in testing maps, so it should be grand. Well, that's a lot of chewing. Ooh. Just gone. I do love that these things just ravage these things with real ease. Well, okay, now we've cleaned this area out. All we gotta do is make sure that the hive, when it respawns, yep, it'll keep spawning it several more times, but we're gonna make sure we clear out the planets. And this thing is never going to get to regenerate properly. It's gonna end up a shell of its former selves. Shelf, literally. Alright, first we'll head to... You know what? One, we're going for you first. Then all we do is disable, enable, spawn. And then they pop out and clear the entire planetary top. Excellent. Now that that's done, we just repeat the same process with the other two planets. Right now, we're doing the same thing as before. We're just going to use the exact same bus design and the same black box design methodology just to try and check this out as quickly as possible. It should work. I don't see any reasons why it shouldn't, but hey, we'll find out if the second design works out the same way. I'll do a few, maybe, efficiency things here and there to try and make it a little bit more compact, but realistically, all we want to do is get it fairly compact. We don't need to make it perfect. This is what the finished product looks like. It's pretty consistent with the last ones, and, well, the last one, and much smaller because, well, this is a lot less complicated build. We're putting down titanium smelters, kimberlite ore to make the diamonds. It's just, if you're trying to make a proliferate setup, kimberlite ore is just so handy. Using the GitHub calculator, we can see here if we want to make 20 machines worth of proliferator, which is what we're running here, this little section here, we're going to need 4,608 coal per minute. When it comes down to these diamonds, though, normally you make them with graphite, and graphite is made with more coal. So if you keep an eye on that 4,608, if we actually make these diamonds out of graphite instead, it doubles our coal requirements, which is, that's a lot of coal. You're basically going to eat through your coal supplies really quickly that way. So our best bet is to just make them out of kimberlite ore, and it only takes, what, 1,324 kimberlite ore per minute, and it halves our coal requirements, meaning you just need about a quarter as much kimberlite as you have coal in the system, and you can just churn out just enormous amounts of proliferate, which is why we go with this particular recipe. When it comes to making the carbon nanotube, you can get away by using stalagmite crystals. Problem is, it's just too expensive. I mean, early game, yes, definitely, it's cheap, it's fast, it's good to do, but you run out of them so quickly because it takes so much of them. For example, if we switch over to that, we are going to need 4,320 stalagmite crystals per minute, which is almost the same as our coal consumption. There is nowhere where you get that. Well, okay, I'm not going to say there's nowhere. I'm sure there's someone's got a seed out there where there's a lot of stalagmite crystals on it. But by and large, unless you're on a weird mutant map, you're not going to get those unique stalagmite crystals. Our Proliferate Prime system here only has 7 million stalagmite crystals, but it does have 52 million kimberlite ore. It's only got 68 million coal. We literally are going to run out of coal before we run out of kimberlite ore, which is kind of funny. In fact, our big bottleneck here is going to be coal. Titanium's not going to be a problem. We need a little bit of titanium and fire ice. In fact, fire ice is going to be more of a problem, but we can always import fire ice from further away. It's about time to turn this on, though I think I might... Actually, I might make this a little bit more long-term proof. 1 second. Right now I've got the fire ice coming in here, but I think I'm going to switch it over to this tower. If we bring the fire ice into this tower, it makes upgrading later on easier. Well, upgrading, let me show you. All we have done is pull the fire ice into this tower, and this tower has space warpers. This means, well, the reason we do this is so that it can export the Proliferate Mark III we're making. This black box design, its entire system's purpose, the whole solar system, is just to make Proliferate Mark III, which we export to, well, all the other systems. It's the only point of the system. All the local resources, they only go towards that. The only things we're importing from abroad would be, well, space warpers, which will come from another sector, and potentially fire ice, because fire ice is going to be the bottleneck here. So what we can do is we can import the fire ice here. Well, the fire ice will bring in here for now on this section which has the space warpers. That means if the local fire ice runs out, it can go and get it abroad from any of those ice giants that, well, have fire ice on tap. Because fire ice, hydrogen, and deuterium are the only sort of renewable resources in the game that last effectively forever. Now, this is the sandbox testing mode, but we have made sure to have all the mines and stuff set up, so we can just go to local demand. Local demand. We're probably going to need some remote demand as well for these ones. And then over here for this one, we'll make you local demand as well. I'm pretty sure there's some fire ice lying around the place. And actually, you know what? Give me the remote demand as well, just to make sure I can pull from further afield if needs be. And done. And the rest of it should just be a case of it starting to pour out. What's active? Kimberlite's not started up. Titanium's not started up. Fire ice already has. Coal has started arriving. That means the recompiling assemblers are kicking in to make the Proliferate Mark I. Proliferate Mark I is starting to get sucked into these things, but without the... We're into the Mark II production, but without the diamonds, that's not going to go anywhere, which requires the kimberlite. And over here, these guys are waiting on the titanium before they can start making the nanotubes. Oh, and down here, I have like 4 of these hydrogen fuel cell assemblers. We had 4 space, and putting in the extra titanium was cheap, so I thought, why not? I'll find the use of those fuel rods somewhere. And over here, we've got the 20 Proliferate Mark III assembly machines. Though I am, like those fuel cells or the hydrogen, I'm going to have to find some way to burn that off. It's a waste product. Might be awkward. And titanium's kicked in. Excellent. And the kimberlite ore. The only, like, there is one weird little thing down here. We needed 16 of the Proliferate Mark II machines, and these lines can only support 15 assemblers before we run out of space. So what we did was we put in the 16th assembler here, and then we have the output sort of coming across here and getting fed onto this line. Assuming it works. It's still waiting on, yeah, the diamond. And there, as you can see, works just fine. Spits that right back up the line. We didn't need that much of a vertical bus at the end just because of everything that we had. But it's kicking in and out. I forgot to hook this up, didn't I? You can come down here and go straight in there. And off you go. The proliferate goes down the line. Now we're going to start getting proliferate. Oh yes. This comes down the end, then rotates all the way around, goes right back up. And yeah, does the same thing on that end. Perfect. In fact, I could probably get rid of this. Yeah, I don't need this. I thought I was going to have to split the line, but it's fine. Done. Alright, we'll let that catch up for a minute, and then we're going to see exactly how much proliferate per minute we're getting out of it. One problem I've managed to gift us is disposing of the fuel cells. Might have been better off just to get rid of the hydrogen. It's just we want to burn it off. We don't have a use for these fuel cells. So, lots of thermal power plants. Lots and lots of them. We've got 4 of those artificial suns over there. They're necessary to power the whole thing flat out without any interference from these thermal power plants. And then for the thermal power plants themselves, I mean, we'll chuck all this stuff back in and we'll see if it's able to keep up. Then we'll just run this for a while, I suppose. You can be deleted. Let's keep you chugging over and see how well you work out. Well, after a little bit of fiddling around, I think we've got something a little bit more respectable. What we did was we ripped out the hydrogen fuel cells. I shouldn't have added that in. I also had to rip out one of the titanium things. It turns out I hadn't put in enough of the proliferator Mark 1 machines, so they basically replaced the hydrogen fuel cell ones. And then we had to burn off the hydrogen. So now the hydrogen gets stored here and burned off in all of these thermal power plants, of which we need an awful lot less. Hydrogen, a little bit less energy dense, and without the proliferate and all that stuff, this here can just keep up with it, assuming we don't dump too much power to the grid. Right now, you'll notice we're at about 100% sufficiency, but if we were to say cut off these power generators, there wouldn't be enough power to run this thing. So what we need to do is keep a ratio of 4 of these artificial suns to every one of these, which means I probably should build artificial suns into this design, but I'm not going to because it's done and it's finished and it's churning out 2,250 proliferate per minute, minus 425, because that's how much it consumes just to run itself. And that's it saved. Proliferate 1,824 a minute, 80 by 80 black box design, requires coal, fire ice, titanium, kimberlite ore, and done. So, that should be it. Now we can just chuck one of these down whenever we want, which means we've got to go back to our actual save and install it there, which should take 5 minutes. Alright then, let's blueprint this sucker in. Hopefully it will not cause any issues. You. All we want you to do is slot in nice and neatly and not mess up. You know what? Let me check that corner over there. You should be one power pole there. Now, a few power poles are going to overlap each other, but I want to make sure nothing's missing. No, looks good. In that case, shift and enter to complete. This will take a few minutes. Yeah, let's fast forward this a lot. Well, that was relatively painless. Now, do we have enough coal inbound? You see that coal is coming from a pretty decent distance away. As in, we're getting all of the resources from the local system. This proliferator runs entirely on coal, kimberlite ore, and titanium. Oh, and fire ice. And all 4 of those ingredients are all found pretty abundantly. The 7.2 million... Or was it, sorry, the 22 million fire ice is going to be the first thing that runs out. The coal will last a little bit longer. Not a huge amount longer, but a little bit longer. But in that case, if the once the fire ice runs out, we'll be able to get more fire ice from from gas giants or ice giants. The reason we're able to do that is because we're going to have space warpers here. So that's why we put the fire ice in this section. The hydrogen itself will hopefully be able to export that if it does back up in the system. And everything else is grand, and we've still got a spare slot right there. Also, when I went back home, I had to add thermal power plants to the grid. Turns out, did not have thermal power plants built into them all. Don't know why. Alright, how are you doing? Whoa. How does this one have so much more sufficiency here? You know what? Don't care. We're going to let it do its thing for now and see if it backs up. If the hydrogen backs up in the system, we'll have to do something about it. But for now, we're going to let this thing run and see how the proliferate goes. Oh, actually, yeah, the proliferate has just... Well, once the proliferator starts making proliferator Mark 3, it's proliferating the line. Yes, that's going to drive up power consumption. Right now, for example... Oh, no, you're proliferated. Let's go all the way to the end, shall we? See, this here is not proliferated, so it's not drawing as much power. Once it gets proliferated items, it'll start drawing more. Well, give me something here that... never mind, they're all proliferated already, too. Damn you. Oh, yeah, here. This guy's at 2.16 megawatts. And if we go to the top of the line... Yep, still 2.16. We're going to need to get some titanium that's proliferated, please. There we go. 5.4 megawatts. So there's a massive power consumption increase from using all of this proliferate. I didn't realize just how gargantuan it was. Well, we've sort of planned for it, so let's integrate it into the system. Alright, it'll take a minute for the rest of that to catch back up, and that should start clearing out that backlog of... Actually, no. Hydrogen backlog is already cleared. Excellent. Now, next up we have one last black box... Actually, no. 2 more black box things to do, but the first one is going to be space warpers. Actually, no. No, space warpers we can leave for now. We definitely have plenty of space warpers available, and if we go to global, space warpers are far producing... Like, the production of space warpers is far outstripping consumption. We do not have to worry about those just yet. We're consuming like 16.59 a minute, which is actually quite low. And that's with the entire star cluster. Last minute it's 22, last 10 minutes it's up to 20, last hour it's up to 22, last 10 hours, oh yeah, okay. So the last hour, so we're up to about 22. Still nothing. The production capacity we have. So, instead of worrying about doing space warpers just yet, I think we'll get straight into the antimatter section. Ooh, antimatter fuel cells. Now these things are basically the whole point of everything we've been doing so far. We want to start mass producing these so we can start fueling, well, these sort of outposts. For example, we're going to be coming back later and adding multiple more of these. Since this holds, it's 80 tiles by 80 tiles. The equator is 1,000 tiles around. So that's 12, my calculator tells me that is 12.5 above the equator and 12.5 below. So let's say 24. However, if there's any mining operations like, say, this one over here in the way, that will interfere, so it's not going to be perfect. I probably should have actually tucked that up tight against the mining operation. We could fit it exact to it. You know what? Doesn't make a difference. We're not going to need 12. Well, I hope we don't need 12. Oh no, we might need 24 of these. In that case, we can always get other systems and turn them into Proliferator Prime Mark II. Anyway, time to head back to Big Blue. We want to go back to Big Blue because it's had over, an extra 100 rockets per minute being pumped into it for a while. So how's our Dyson Sphere looking? It's almost visible at this point. Oh god, that thing is huge. What we're going to want to do is head over to Big Blue 3, set up some more sail launchers so we can start chewing through our backlog of solar sails. And then we're probably going to go to Big Blue 1, and we're just going to cover it in solar photon harvesting things. Yeah, give me a minute to get over there. See, those solar sails are not firing fast enough. I think we just need more cannons. Lots and lots more cannons. I think a second layer of those would make a big difference. Like, it's not even eating a whole line. It's not even eating a whole belt. Yeah, if we're not consuming 1,800 solar sails per minute, we're doing something wrong. I decided to quad it up a little bit. It just looks like it's launching a lot more sails. That's... whoop. Yeah, there we go. That's a bit better. Now, when we check on the Dyson Sphere overlay, yeah, you can see the ships all going out, but they're going to come in pulses. We're going to get 2,000 at a time, and then it's going to wait till it builds up, which will take 20 minutes at 100. Yeah, so every 20 minutes it's going to get 2,000 of them. So then a big splurge goes out and starts building the Dyson Sphere. Right now, actually, let's check. Grab you. We have 56,000 constructed of 195,600. Right, so a while before we need to start adding on more nodes. As for the actual... oh, one second, deselect those. As for the actual Dyson shells, we have 60 of them. We're like... oh my god. We need 21 million. We only have 247,000 in place. We're going to need to cover the planet in more of these, aren't we? In fact, we want to cover... it's going to get awkward. What I want to do now, though, is start putting in some power supplies over here. What I want to do is run this place on the antimatter fuel so that we can unplug these things over here. Currently, this is what's powering the place. These, ray receivers. We don't want that because we're going to start draining all the power out of this Dyson Sphere very shortly. And when we do, it's going to redline anything that's drawing power from it, which includes this place. So these all got to go. And these things got to take up the slack. So let's rip these out and see what happens to our power draw. This is actually a rather simple setup. All we have is antimatter fuel rods coming in here, and then we just feed them into these and daisy chain them on. And we've built them right here on the patch above the equator, this ring of space, because, well, the equator space seems to be the most valuable, and everything above that, kind of trash. I mean, I'm sure there's buildings you could fit in here, it's just, it's really annoying. So instead we'll just stick in the power supply here, and we've ripped out half the Dyson stuff? Yep, let's go grab the other half. Oh, wait. Yeah, I installed this. I completely blanked that. Huh. I should probably rip that out later. But that could definitely handle any power draw requirements we might have. Oh man, I totally forgot about that install. Okay, in that case, Dyson Sphere is 0 power draw. Absolutely none. We're actually launching more sails than the Dyson Sphere can absorb. That's interesting. You know what? We'll let it go. Why not? Or is it? 9,000 is attaching. That appears to be the maximum amount they can attach, which means more nodes need to happen. Let's see, this one. Nope, 0 on that. Which means we need more ships to get launched up to increase the amount of nodes, which means we don't need to increase solar cell production, we need to increase node production. Which means I need to go to that inner planet, start harvesting more power for antimatter so that we have the power to produce more ships. This next bit's going to be... Actually, I'm going to go back and... You know what? I got to go back to base first, and I got to stock up on stuff. Then I'll come back here. We're going to need a large amount of resources for what we have planned next. This rock here is the closest one to the blue giant. All we've done is just cleared out the monsters that run the ground, or the hive, whatever. We already wiped out their space-based stuff, so they had no energy anyway. It was quick to wipe them out. And this place does have pools of acid, some holes in the ground, and a whole bunch of resources on it. We're going to smother all of them. All of them need to go. You see, we want to cover this entire planet in stuff, and we can't do that if there's stuff you can't build on. So give me a moment while I foundation a lot of things. Alright, we have paved over, I think, all of the resources, all of the acids, pools. It's pretty much just a flat planet. I'm sure I've missed a bit or a bob here and there, but you know what? Bits and bobs, they can wait until later. For now, let's grab out the blueprint. This is one we pulled off of the Blueprints website because I thought it would be easier to just pull one than design it, because this looks like a monster. It's basically a planetary blueprint. Ooh, can we zoom out a bit? Oh god, the game does not like that. The game does not like that in one bit. Do we have to line this up with anything in particular? Ooh, kind of rotates. Those transport belts do not look very well organized. However, if I am too lazy to make my own version of this, then... Oop, I just left-clicked. Oh my god, did it actually go down? Yeah, I can hear some... Okay then. Now, let's see if they've actually already set this to draw resources. No, local storage, remote storage. Yeah, that's fine. Remote demand. Yeah, you can grab all of that stuff. Damn it, I was hoping it'd have more space. We are short, 13,000 transport belt level 2 transport belt, or level 1, I don't know. 54,000 level 3 transport belt. 2,100 level 2 sorters, I think. 5,000 solar collector thingies, and 16 of those Yokumubobs, these things. Artificial suns. You know what? Those can be sorted. We'll just grab about 35 of those, plop those down. And we don't have any level 2 transport belts. We only have level 3. So, facilities, no. Sorters, no. Belts, yes. We can upgrade all of those. And can we expand that? Actually, we can. You know what? There is no way we are building this on our own. It's going to take forever. Like, this is an entire planetary blueprint. So, as you can see, it's pretty huge. That could take too long. Oh, and I should probably grab some more resources. Yes, you guys. 200. A drop in the ocean. Transport belt. Sure, why not? We'll put that in there too. Now, where is the next logistics tower? There's got to be another logistics tower on this planet somewhere. There we go. You. Please tell me you have some space in you. And yes, you do. In that case, I would like you to pull down the following. First, we're going to need array receivers. We're going to get 2,000 at a time. So you know what? 200's fine. 2,000 are going to show up. Okay. Transport belt. That one's going to be very important. All of it. All of it. Yes, we're going to want all of the transport belt. And I'm going to have to upgrade all... Oh, man. I'm going to have to upgrade all the transport belt. That's going to suck. Oh, and I'm going to need those level 2 inserters. Yep, they are Mark 2s. How many do we need again? 2,151. If we just need 2,000, we'll just say remote demand. We'll get in 2,000. And we should have enough on us to cover the rest. And if we don't, we can always bring in another 2,000 more. They're relatively cheap. Now, you. Do we have... Yes, we've got fuel on the way. Once the antimatter fuel comes down, we'll put some power into these things. In fact, you can grab one piece of power right now. There you go. Sufficiency 47.9%. You know what? We'll give you 2. That means once it drops down, the antimatter will start getting spit out, and then it can get fed into all of the successive power generators, and that'll start generating us enough power that we can start putting down those fields. What are they called? Battlefield analysis stations. I'll rip out some pieces and put in a few of those, just because there's no way we can build this otherwise. It would take way too long. Even with all the upgrades we've got to our building, you can see our drones struggling. Wait, what color are our drones? For a second there I thought they were like kind of purpley coloured. You know what? Never mind. Give me a few more minutes. This might take a while. So, as you can see, we're surrounded by these green dishes, and we have a bunch more in our inventory. And as we walk forward, the white ones turn green, namely because we're getting in range of them. Huh. And soon we'll have gone through all of them. I'm just going to do a complete rotation of the planet, and then, I don't know, cover the middle of it in these things. This is weird. I've never built something this large before. And whoever made this, I hate you and love you at the same time. Look at those transport belts. I mean, I've made some abominations in my time. I mean, okay, I've made some horrifying abominations, and I cannot talk, but I'm still going to try. You're a monster. Like, well done, sir. Well done. There is a lot of these that need to go. It's just easier to fly around and do it. How mad is that? I think once I've got all of these deployed, I'll leave the transport belt to last, and what I'll do instead is put down a whole bunch of logistics towers, or towers that, you know, will deploy this stuff automatically for us, and then pick up all the transport belt. Oh my god. This is over 5,000 of just the solar collectors alone. The transport belt is going to be an absolute nightmare. And I need more of these. Alright, so I grabbed some transport belt as well just to speed this along. There is, like, the deployment costs of this thing are incredible. I love it. It's completely overscaled. It's, we want to be able to draw all the power from this Dyson Sphere. I mean, we haven't gotten the Dyson Sphere to the correct size yet, but we're already at 90% sufficiency already because we're draining that much. And this thing isn't even close to built. Also, as well as that, this thing is supposed to get, those focusing lenses. And those lenses will make sure this thing, well, basically has 100% uptime and draws 4 times as much as a normal one would. So this is going to require quite a good Dyson Sphere, and the plan would be, well, to cover this entire planet in them, and then, well, we've got 2 other planets in this system, we would do the same to them once the Dyson Sphere is complete. Assuming we can generate enough power. I think we can generate enough power, but honestly, I haven't done the numbers. In theory, it should work. In practice, I suppose, we're going to find out. What I'm doing right now is planting down battlefield analysis stations. These guys can build, and as well as that, so long as they're touching one of these ray receivers, and the ray receivers are connected to a power source somewhere, and right now, it's really hard to see, but those ray receivers are connected all back up here to the top, which is where the power brick is. Well, actually, it kind of comes all the way from the opposite side of the planet, but soon this will also have power coming to it. We've got, yeah, we're at 100% sufficiency. So what I roughly do, give or take, is, assuming I can find out where I placed the last one. Ah, there it is. So I grab this, and then I just start heading forward, and I count 10 of these Yoke Bobs, the ray receivers. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and let's say you can be 10. So, then we're going to plant a battlefield analysis station there, but first we just got to make sure that there's a line of power connecting it. So we just throw in all these guys as well. This is easier if I hadn't just picked up so many of those transport belts. The transport belts are making a little bit slower. If I wasn't holding the transport belts, they'd pretty much be only laying down the dishes for us. Remind me not to pick up any more transport belts for a while. Then the moment we get here, we check down a battlefield analysis station, and then we repeat. We basically just want to drag these around the planet, let the battlefield analysis stations do most of the work. We're doing pretty good, but there's still a fair chunk left. Dear God. This completely goes against the whole black box thing we've been doing of, you know, just doing small builds so that we can scale up. But this one I thought, I mean, at some point we're going to have to cover the entire planet in these dishes. And you might as well do it all at once, otherwise you wouldn't be able to do it right. I mean, if you try doing it in stages, I don't think you could come up with something quite so efficient. Look at the size of this thing. It's basically an entire planet whose only purpose is to absorb photons. I love it. Alright, the belting in this, though, is just absolutely nightmarish. Like, look at that. How? Why? I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of reasons behind this, but looking at it, it hurts. We are slowly getting there. We've only got 12,702 transport belt to go. Just gotta get the last of that in place and we're golden. Looks like the planet is mostly done. What do you even call a planet covered in these things? Like, Dishy McDishface? That doesn't sound right. Disco ball? You know what? It doesn't matter. Names can come later. I gotta get the last of the pieces, and then what I gotta do is deconstruct all of the little helper things, these helper stations we made. And then we have to do, apply the blueprint one more time to replace the pieces in for that we removed. Or actually, maybe I can just manually copy-paste something from nearby. That might be saner. Like, if we get rid of this guy, and then just put a radish in here, what do we need to do to make this work like the others? Yeah, so what this seems to be is where the whatchamacallits are going to come down, the ray receivers. So the ray receivers get caught in here, popped onto that, and fed into this thing. And this side here, this is where the photons come out. Right, and how are we looking on sufficiency? 12.2%. Yes, our Dyson Sphere needs more work. You know what? We'll worry about that in a bit. For now, I'm going to take care of the last of these and replace the stuff we've removed. I think I got the last transport belt. Alright, the only thing left to do then is to rip out the last of the battlefield analysis stations and replace them, and at that point, it'll be done. In the last 10 minutes, this planet has produced 1,825 critical photons. That seems to be pretty consistent as well, so I think that's what our current production rate is. We're going to have to put ourselves together something that produces antimatter fuel rods out of all of this. That will be next episode. You know what, let's just follow this packet here. There's a packet of photons, and it is yoink. Where'd you go? Okay, now it's over here somewhere. Then that continues along. Where are you going, buddy? Oh my god. Okay, after it's crossed half the planet, it should eventually get to a transport tower. Right? And finally into a tower. And then boom. And then this one here has access to space warpers, so this allows it to warp them off planet. We're also not going to need any more ray receivers, conveyor belts, or sorters Mark II on this location. We shall make you remote supply. Yeah, you can all be remote supply from now on. There's so many wasted ray receivers. Like, the thing is, we're going to have to make another 2 planets of this later on, so we need another 10,000 ray receivers. Those things are actually pretty expensive. Up the top here, this is where the antimatter comes in to actually fuel the whole system. Right now, this thing's not going to be pulling too much power. Basically because all we're doing is pulling down photons, but we're not doing it very efficiently, and we don't have any graviton lenses. Yep, that's the word I should have been using. And we're not going to be taking down any graviton lenses because there's no point right now. We're literally maxed out the Dyson Sphere we currently have. But now that we've got that steady, glorious input of critical photons, we can start putting together antimatter. Taking a quick look at the calculator, 1,800 photons per minute. That will give us 300 of these. I did some back-of-the-napkin math, and basically we'll be able to run, of these carrier rockets, little black box facilities we produce, a little over 20 of them. We should be able to run about 20 of those just on the photons we're bringing in right now. Of course, we will need something to run the proliferator as well, so let's just say we chuck down 8, 10 of these builds. 10 of those would give us enough carrier rockets to start smashing through. Just multiply this by 10. That's the whole joy of this black box approach. So we can just paste down 3 or 4 more of these. Well, okay, first we'll have to just put together the antimatter fuel rod production. That should be fairly handy, except for these things. We're going to need 30 miniature particle cutters. I got them. It's just, this is going to be a pretty big build. And this will also be black box as well. But it's relatively cheap. 6 iron smelters, 3 copper smelters, 3 magnet smelters. There's a few smelters in here and there, but by and large, this looks like it's going to be a pretty dense, easy-to-do build. Well, not easy to do, just it won't take up an awful lot of space, but it'll churn out more than enough power for us. And then as the Dyson Sphere increases, we can just chuck down more of them to convert more of the photons into more of these. But for now, I'm just going to drift around this planet rather lazily. That was a decent amount of construction today. We've got one new black box design finished, completed, good to go. This is beautiful. Like, this is an entire planet dedicated towards one focus, and that was sort of the plan from the beginning, was to make a planet entirely dedicated. Well, as many planets as we could. I wasn't sure how many photons we'd be able to squeeze out of this place, because my assumption currently still is that this giant blue star we're around will produce more energy if we complete the Dyson Sphere than all 3 planets will be able to absorb, even with gravitational lenses helping out and all of the bonuses we've got. That was my thinking. I'm pretty sure that we'll probably hit that point. But for now, I'm going to cut this out here. I hope you enjoyed. Good luck.